Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News. Survivor News.
What's up? It's Brice.
It's your boy Wendell.
And it's Jack, and we're your baby boys.
Get ready for a new episode of
Survivor News. What is going on? And we are back this week with your Survivor News covering season 44, episode 9. And I couldn't do it without my acting seance brother.
Seance?
I mean, we could do a seance. You've never seen The Craft. So, but listen, my acting brother, you may know him from Netflix season 2 of The Circle. Emily, The Floor is Lava, or you might see him at a Brice and Wen Present. It is the official University of Chicago graduate. Jack Atkins, how you feeling?
Feeling good, Brice. As always, great to be here, and I'm excited to break down this episode.
Yeah, I've got so much to...
Maybe we'll do a seance. Who knows?
Oh, Minnow, I invoke thee. Okay, you too young to know what that is, Jack. But listen, Win DZ is still on spring break. We ain't got time to be playing with the win to the DZ. But I figure, you know what? Let's invite somebody else on the pod. And the person that we will invite to the pod, I have to be honest, my time spent with this person initially was amazing. Probably was my favorite person ever. And then, you know, situations happened and we got separated for a couple of days. Then we met each other back at this place that you call Ponderosa. And this person was emotional. Maybe I should bring this. Well, now I'm going to tell the story. Then I'm going to bring the person on. This person was emotional, right? After they got back to Ponderosa, and I was emotional too. But you know, I was still in my emotions. So this person was like at Ponderosa, like crying, like, where's Brice? And I walk out and I was like, hello. And this person gave me a hug, and I was just like, but anyway, we've moved on since then. It is my girl, my sister. You may know her from Survivor Cagayan. Okay, Solana Tribe. Let's welcome Alexis Maxwell Taylor to the Purple Pants Podcast.
Hello. How are you?
I am good. How are you, Alexis?
Good. Brice, you know it's like our 10-year.
Oh my God, girl. Well, I don't say all of that. I don't say all of that, girl. We don't say all of that. It ain't been no decade.
Have it on your list.
It is crazy though. But real quick, was that story accurate of when you got to Ponderosa?
Yeah, except for the part where you said I was your favorite person, because I'm pretty sure I still am your favorite person.
Well,
So
that is true. That is true. I felt like when we were on the island, although like my showmance or, you know, the time that I had everyone was like, it's Morgan and Brice, it really was the Alexis and Brice show.
Yeah, we really screwed that up because I think we were the only two out there that just connected. Literally, you kept me saying out there because I know you and I both know we were just with a different type of crew and not really our people. So it was nice to have you out there. But yes, when I went to Ponderosa, I was looking for my warm Brice hug and you were just hands up. No love. It took us some couples counseling.
It did. We really did. We Dr. Liza really did have to sit us down. She's like, you guys are going on a trip. I think it would behoove you to overcome this. And even Jatia was like, well, I'm going to go talk to Alexis. And then I'm going to, like, Jatia was still playing the game at Ponderosa. But listen.
Mediators helping us come back together.
But we're so happy that we did. And Jack, I feel like we've done this trio before back in the day.
Maybe one time, yeah. It would have been a long time ago.
But it was not video too. It was just audio only.
Just audio.
Yeah, it was, yeah. The video is a game changer.
Oh yeah, we're entering the modern world.
Yeah. So have you been keeping up to date with this season, Alexis?
I have, yes.
Okay.
I've watched every season. Nowadays, I can't watch it live as often because, you know, I got the baby and he just has his own agenda. But I've kept up with it.
Well, speaking of the baby, I did want to ask, how has life been? You know, you are married since Survivor. You now have a baby boy named Miller. You still have a million dogs. Like, how is life now being as though you a whole wife and somebody mother?
I know, it is crazy. A lot has happened for sure, but everything's going really well. I'm obsessed with my little baby. Every month has just been more fun than the last. So things are going really well. We moved, we got a house and everything. So we're doing the whole like Sims life now.
I absolutely love it. I remember when we were in the Thailand and you and I had a couple of excursions and it's crazy to think that girl that was with me.
If you picture me then, you would never picture me now.
There was I'm sure we've told this story a million times, Jack, and it's like, I mean, it's actually kind of sort of crazy, but we were in Thailand with, I guess, like a couple of people that had got voted out before us and Jatia, and we were out, and I don't know what happened, but we all got separated, and I was over the night, so I got me a tut-tut back to the hotel, but I was surprised when I got back to the hotel that Jatia was there, and then I got back to my room, and the person that I guess got eliminated first or second, can't really remember their name, that we were sharing a room at that time, he came back with pizza and was like, "Have you seen Alexis?" And I was like, "Bish, I left you with Alexis." And then we went and got Jatia, and Jatia was like, "Well, I left you with Alexis." So it was this whole big thing because one, we weren't supposed to go like into town. And it was like, oh my God, we're going to have to like notify the people that we lost Alexis. And
It's in the
so
middle of the night.
in the middle of the night, right, Jack? And so this person that got voted out first, second, continued to eat his pizza. Jatia and I are like walking around the resort. We are in the lobby of the resort, Jack, and a motorcycle pulls up. And Alexis is on the back of the motorcycle.
This is like not a good story.
It's not. She gets off the motorcycle, says thank you, and like we're like, Alexis!
I hitchhiked on a motorcycle. This was a legit stranger, didn't really speak English, and I just showed a picture of what our hotel room was and our hotel. I'm like, "Can you take me there?" I rode a motorcycle back. That person could have taken me anywhere.
And
I'm lucky to be alive.
you really are, Alexis. And that was like a 20-minute ride from like.
People, please learn from me. Like young girls out there, I would have been one of those stories where you hear like she died and you're like, well, of course she was being stupid. So just learn from me. Don't do as I've done.
Yes.
That's a horrible story.
I mean, it is a horrible story when you think about it, but like in the moment, we were just like, girl, not you getting off a motorcycle. And you were just so casual about it.
Literally, it's like the movie The Hangover.
And you had your iconic purple shirt that I hate on.
Oh
I was like,
God, I wore this shirt.
Alexis!
I forgot I had it on. Are you so happy?
So for anybody that is listening, okay, sorry, Jack. I know we taking a turn somewhere.
I love the Cagayan tea because it's my favorite ever. So I love the stories.
Here's the thing, right, about Alexis. Love her to death, right? So we were in the game of Cagayan, right? Alexis wore that purple shirt. Alexis had a buff, and then she had like a dress. However, outside of the game when we were in Ponderosa and when we like traveled to Thailand, Alexis still wore the same shirts and dresses. And I just hated it because one, Alexis had the biggest suitcase of all of us. And I'm like, why are you still wearing this? And one of the times that I saw Alexis outside of the game, can you want to guess what she wore to meet us? Like, she had the purple shirt on.
You weren't wearing pants, Brice?
You said who?
You weren't wearing your purple pants?
No, dumb pants was done. And gone.
You named your whole podcast after your outfit, please.
Okay, but I haven't been seen in them since, Alexis. The thing about it is I know that shirt is still in rotation.
Listen, it lost its place for a while, but this podcast just brought it back into my life. So you will see it featured again. It's a great shirt.
I hate it. And it's that you have that dress too. But anyway, enough about me hating on Alexis. We are here to talk about Survivor episode 9. But before we get into all of that, next week, the baby boys, Brice and Wen Presents, we are heading to Boston and we have an amazing lineup for you. Okay, so next Wednesday, May 3rd, we'll be at the greatest bar ever. And even more importantly, I don't know if the stars are aligning for us, but the Celtics will be playing the Sixers in the playoff series. Okay, Boston. Now, you know I love me some Boston, but I might have to come repping my Philly gear the following week, May 10th. We will be in Philadelphia, hopefully a couple of games up in that series. So May 10th at the Winston, weather permitted, we will be on the Winston on the water. So a great location. And then after that, all things lead to the role of the finale. Brice and Wen Presents Brooklyn. We will be there May 23rd and May 24th. 23rd welcome party, little karaoke party, and we're working on a panel as well as the Survivor viewing of the finale. And listen, the guests that have confirmed, Jack is out here booking his plane tickets, and you know we got surprises on surprises on surprises on surprises. So listen, end this season off with an amazing kick. Brice and Wen Present. Head to the Instagram of Brice and Wen Present or my Instagram bio. Click the link, and we will see you in Boston, Philly, or Brooklyn. Okay, enough of all of that, Jack. Are you ready? Is your internet good to moderate?
For now, I think we're good enough. But I did see that Boston lineup on Instagram, and it looks insane. So anyone looking for tickets, go scoop them up. And I already booked my flights from Brooklyn, so I think it might be one of the best parties ever. Not just because I'm there, but just because it's the finale. But
Jack, but wait, is your phone hooked up to your Wi-Fi?
No, it's not.
Mess right now.
Oh, it's straight data, baby. Unlimited.
It's giving 1G.
Yeah, it's giving dial up.
It's giving AOL. Do. But
No, it's just on my data, but I shouldn't have a data issue.
You might. It's not after 10. The data is not free.
No, I have free unlimited. Can you hear me all right for now?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Just a little blurry. But listen, Jack, before we even get into all of that, Alexis, you're here. Every week we play karaoke with Jack. We try to, give him some culture of some R&B, 2000s R&B. So I'm going to sing a rendition of a song, and we'll see if Jack can guess this. Now, Jack, because the viewers, the listeners, the Jack Shack, the people in the comments, they really feel like we should switch it where you actually should sing us a song. And I'm okay with that. But we have sung this song to you before. So all of y'all to say like, oh, it's not fair on Jack. He should know this. And also, Alexis, after I'm done singing it, I just need a simple yes or no if you know the song.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Baby, I just don't get it. Do you enjoy being hurt? I know you smell the perfume, the makeup on his shirt. You don't believe his stories. You know that there are lies. Bad as you are, you stick around, and I just don't know why. If I was your man, baby, you never have to worry about what I do, because I be coming home right back to you every night.
Doing right.
Oh, okay. Wait, Jack?
Oh, I don't know what it's called. I don't know who it's by, but I know the song.
Has somebody sampled it?
Probably. Wait, it's. I'm trying to picture it in the voice of someone who's actually a good singer to figure it out. But no, I couldn't. I'm not. Can I get a hint on the artist?
It's a male.
I knew.
His name starts with an M, ends with an O.
Oh,
he has a brother named Luigi.
Mario.
Okay, the song is Mario, Let Me Love You, and clearly Alexis knows it. It's a jam.
You sang it so well.
Thank you. If I was your man,
baby, you
never worry about
What I do.
I
We
become
got it.
yes. Okay, Jack, take it away with the 2G.
I'll come prepared next week with some karaoke to test you, but should we dive into the episode now?
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about my low G's. So we get back to tribal council. Brandon has just been idled out, which puts Ratu on their toes because they thought they were in control of the game. And we see that they're still grateful that Tika voted with them. But lo and behold, we get a Jam confessional of him talking about how the plan went off seamlessly. They knew Brandon was going to go home, but they voted with Ratu to disguise themselves, and it all went out according to plan. And he's happy that Brandon, someone who's written his name down, is the one who goes home. So now the game's up in the air. Like, what do you guys think about this fallout from Tribal Council? Who do you think's in a good position? Who's in a bad position? Like, what are your thoughts going into this episode?
I think it's interesting. Franny kind of called it out that like it's going, I don't know, unspoken and unaddressed that Tika basically has all the power. And I think everybody who's played before knows that if you are having confessionals that are swing vote confessionals, you're safe and you're driving things. So I'm curious if this is when that will start to implode on them now that they've kind of drawn a line in the sand. You know what I mean?
I think it's interesting. I think it was one of the times, clearly we all love Jam, right? But I think it was after this tribal when Jam came back and was like, anyone that has voted for me, see you later. Bye. And I'm like, not Jam really kind of getting his final speech together. If he like, I'm like, oh my God, like Jam actually really is right. So for me, it really illuminated the fact that like not one is Jam a strong player, but he's aware of his moves. Like he's not somebody that's just kind of like tiptoeing and like it almost reminds me of like a Cassidy a little bit. Like, and we love Queen Cassidy, but it seemed like Cassidy was kind of just like dodging move after move after move and surviving and not really knowing how much of an influence of like her being there is, but it just seemed like Jam was like fully aware and knows what's going on. And just a lot, I feel about what has happened, especially, and I don't know, like when we get to like, this idol, people are looking for this idol. And again, like I love me some Danny, like, short king stand up, please. But like, I just feel like, oh my God, the way like Danny, and I think Brandon, I think James Jones said it last week. Danny is playing a quintessential old school game, and I love it. Like, and I think it's one of the reasons why I love to root for Danny. But I'm like, in this new era, getting rid of Brandon only illuminates the fact that you are a huge physical beast. And I just feel like the way that you are playing in a game of people like Franny, people like Jam, people like Carson's, like it's only a matter of time before they're going to turn and look down and target you.
Look down. I agree that I feel like he's getting a little too, big for his britches or whatever that phrase is. There's got to be some finesse in it. And I feel like the day by day, maybe the hungrier he gets, he's losing that finesse in the relationships. And I don't think that that's going to bode well for him.
It's great to watch, and I love watching him because it's like it makes me want to root for him, but I also am like so hypercritical of him because it's like I am rooting for you, so it's like pull it back, like so. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's kind of what we talked about last week, where he makes this, as far as he knows, really good move with his idol, and his idol's out Brandon successfully, but at the same time, he's making himself the biggest target. He's lost his idol, which is a form of protection for him. So it's like, yeah, his move worked out, but I don't actually think it's going to work out in the long run. But speaking of idols, his idol gets re-hidden. So the next day we see this big hunt for the idol. Basically, Danny has the strategy of go get 5 pieces of wood, look for the idol, bring back the wood. 5 more pieces, which I actually think is a pretty good strategy, but because Danny's so
Danny
everyone knows for it, and so everyone else goes and looks for it. But eventually we see that Heidi finds the idol. What do you guys think about this whole search, and how do you guys feel about this idol in the hands of Heidi?
One thing I will say too about Danny's strategy is it's a good strategy if a camera's not following you every single time you go and get wood. Like cameras don't follow you on a wood run. So if you're paying attention as another cast member, you're like, okay, the camera's going with him. He's not just looking for wood. So that's like under the radar insider knowledge that I probably should have known when I was out there. But yeah, Brice, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't need a camera when I'm looking for wood, but yeah. Like I also feel like Danny, like you don't even need to bring the wood pack. Just go out there and look. They know what you're doing. I think Heidi finding this idol is huge for her. Like I feel like tell me one bad thing Heidi has done. Like, I feel like Heidi has been in control of her alliance. She has made smart decisions. She's a critical thinker. I keep thinking about that first episode, and I think it was like Claire, and it might have been Franny, and they're like, let's wait for Danny to come back so we can start the fire. And Heidi was like, we'll need to wait. And I love everything about a Heidi. And again, I feel like, are we seeing a winner edit come forward in a Heidi? However, the past couple of seasons, we don't really know what winner edits are, but I just feel like Heidi is playing a fantastic game. Even when she had the power to vote, I feel like she played the vote smart enough, or at least from what I know is that, like, you know, she saved her relationship with Franny, put a target on Jam Jam, even though she really didn't want Jam Jam to go, and Matt went home. Like, I don't know. I just feel like she's playing great. She's aligned with Danny, but we don't really get or hear much of people targeting Heidi with a Danny. So I feel like, for me, Heidi winning this idol, keeping it discreetly to herself, is shaping up that she's going to be a problem.
I love a good hidden idol too. I'm so sick of everyone knowing about everyone's advantage. Like I hope that she could just keep this one completely under wraps for until she needs to use it.
Yeah, now we have her idols completely hidden. I think Carolyn's idol is still completely hidden, which is nice because maybe some.
Oh, that's right.
But I agree with what you're saying, Brice. Like I think in this new era of Survivor, we've talked about in the past, like that balance of like threat management, but also like knowing your game and making good moves. And I think Heidi's got that perfect level where she may be perceived as like the lowest threat on the Soka totem pole, but she might actually be playing the most thoughtful game of anyone in Soka and potentially anyone there. And now with the idol and some shields around her, I really do think she could go deep and really explain her game in a way that could help her potentially take home a win. But yeah, so and I think it's the same day of this idol search that we see, like it's an off day, which in this new 26-day game are potentially few and far between. And so we see on this off day, it kind of gives them more time to sort of develop those personal bonds and connections that are obviously such a crucial part of the game. We see Jam Jam leading everybody in I Spy. We see Carolyn also discussing like her path to recovery from her drug addiction. I believe she said she was 14 years sober, which is amazing. But I want to hear what your guys' thoughts, like not only about this particular scene, but also about like we said, this 26-day game, and from having played yourselves, like how do the off days differ from, you know, the days with tribal, the days with challenges?
Yeah.
Like, how do you,
I think about this a lot actually, because I think that's one of my biggest beefs with the new structure. Those off days were probably the most boring and like really brutal, but they did force like a lot of conversation, a lot of relationship building, even against your will. And I think that's what I'm missing in these more recent seasons is it's like very tactical, all game, which is great. But I keep seeing on TikTok like old school videos of like original seasons where there are true emotions at the like final tribal where people are so hurt because they built such tight relationships. I want to see people hurt again. Like I want to see them I want to see tears. I want to see people like have too strong of bonds that it messes with their gameplay. And I feel like right now everybody's just a pawn and it's easy to vote people out and there's no hard feelings. And I like it when it's more intertwined with emotion because it makes it harder to make certain moves. You know what I mean?
See, I almost have the opposite take to that because I only was out there for, I don't know, 11 days. You were the person keeping track on our tribe. But for me, I just felt like I would have loved it if maybe we didn't have so many off days because, I mean, it was, I can't really remember because Alexis likes to remind me that it was almost a decade ago. But I remember like, it was like we would have a challenge, a tribal, and then there might have been 1 or 2 days where there was nothing going on, and they were very brutal.
They were. Those are the
For
hardest.
me, right? For me specifically, just because it was just like only person I really talked to was like Alexis and Morgan, and it just was. I don't know. I feel like if we didn't have so much of those downtimes and there were more action, I always wonder like what maybe coulda woulda happened because maybe the pressure of we're actually playing because when you're sitting out there we almost would forget that we were on Survivor as weird as that was because like we would just like be doing anything to pass the time.
Yeah,
But
that's a good point for sure. Like it was, I would say those were our least favorite days for sure. But I don't know. I just feel like they're missing that whole piece to it. And also like it kind of wears on you mentally those days as
yeah.
well, which I like as a viewer, not as a player, because there's no clocks. Like you will base your day off of the sunlight.
Whew.
You have no idea how many hours you have to endure the rest of the day. And all you could do is literally talk to each other. And I don't know, personally, it's not like you really liked everybody there. And, and sometimes I would have nightmares of people's voices. Not you, Brice, but it was excruciating those days. But maybe there was some like good TV value that came out of it.
Yeah. No, as a potential player, I think the shortened season is nice because it keeps up the pace of play. Like obviously you don't have to endure all these down days, the 39 days. But as a viewer, I do prefer like the having the off days because like you said, Alexis, it lends so much time to like seeing the characters develop. And I'm hoping because we've heard rumors that they're going to go back to 90-minute episodes that maybe they return to a 39-day structure just so they have more content to really pack in and develop these characters fully.
I'd be surprised though. I bet you it's so much more cost effective to do it the way they're doing it. And I wonder, like, commitment wise from the cast, if it's a lot less because for us it was what, like 6 weeks at least, and that's a big ask for people, especially if they're like taking time away from work. So I would be surprised if they lengthened the show. Or the
I still think with the shorter days, there's so much footage that there's no issue for them to make 90 minutes. So I don't think that would necessarily be an issue. I do think having Carolyn talk to us this episode really kind of humanized her for me in a way that she has already been humanized, but hearing someone talk about their recovery, talk about like what means the world to them. And, you know, for me, I work in the field of, you know, drug and alcohol. I feel like it runs rampant through my family. And so just to see someone on the other side and finding what their joys are, finding how they met the person that they love and what Survivor really means to them, I think is really one of the best parts of Survivor, are that we get these people like Carolyn who in a million years, we probably would never know like someone like her or know her struggle. And I feel like we've been on this journey with her as somewhat the person that's on the outside of it, but actually for her to put it in her words and hear her story for me really meant a lot. And also hearing from Jam Jam. Now, I don't know if I was the only one, but when Carolyn and Jam Jam was climbing the rock, like all I kept seeing was Matthew, and I'm like, if y'all don't get down.
I agree with
I was like, because I can't take seeing Matthew fall again. Like and I'm like, what? And I felt like, I don't know, this, what is it, Mrs. Doubtfire? The whole time? Like, I was just like, is that the same rock? The same rock?
I know. And you and me both know, like, when you're voted out, you just replay like a mistake that you've made and you like feel so much regret. And that's why it's so painful to see somebody go out for a reason that wasn't even like game related. Like that was, I felt that. I was like, why did you do it? But you know, they're living in the moment, so I understand at the same time.
Yeah, and like Brice, what you were saying about Carolyn too, it's like Carolyn has obviously been one of the stars of the season, but of course, like the personality that she's brought, which has been so lovable, has been super chaotic, I would say. And so this conversation is such like a grounded and like real conversation from her that I think it sort of immediately adds like another layer to her personality that makes her so much more lovable and like rootable.
Absolutely. I feel like it's like the story of don't judge a book by its cover. Again, she has lived a life. No matter, you might not understand the life or you don't understand who the person that is, but someone like me, who I feel like I am constantly judged for the person that I am and how I look and how I act. Like there's so much that I can relate to a Carolyn, and I just love the awkward quirkiness of the person that she is, because I feel like it brings in a whole new audience of people that have been like, I've been through something I could never. And I feel like she's just a true testament to like, doesn't matter what your past is, it's what you kind of put forward and how you move forward. And it's about telling your story. So again, I think when we talk about diversity and we talk about the diversity initiative, I think again, it's encompassing different stories, encompassing different, am I saying that right? Encompassing?
Encompassing.
Encompassing. Okay. But encompassing me, like I feel like for me that it sounds.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But,
it sounded good. But.
Yeah, but I just knew. But you know, more stories, more backgrounds of different, like, so I just can't talk enough about my girl.
I
Carolyn.
definitely admire too how her and Jam Jam, they could be very authentically them. Like that was something I even struggled with because I had just gotten a job offer right before I went out there. So as soon as I stepped on the beach and the cameras were up, I'm like, I'm gonna look for my job. So I couldn't really be myself. And those two are not hiding any aspects of themselves, which I absolutely live for.
Yeah, same with me. Like I felt like I was like, I don't want to be this flamboyant like type of person. And like you're someone that can absolutely speak to this because I don't feel like it was shown a lot. Alexis, was I not a worker bee? Was I not like
there was a brutal edit, like 100% a brutal edit. Like first of all, you were nonstop. Yeah, I would say nonstop. Like just constantly. And I think partly too because you were trying to make sure that was the narrative, you know what I mean?
Like,
and it still got
and it's still like, and it never was shown. And like for me, that's just something I love. Like for me, I honestly and truly like, and I don't even know how we got here, but seeing Jam Jam and the way that he cuts up and the way that like he just is hilarious. Same with Josh. For me, it's like and although people feel like, oh, that's who you were out there, it really was only a percentage of who I was because I was so cognizant of how I would be looked at, how I would like, I really was doing my best to kind of like give one-liners, but I wanted to show that like I'm a gay man, but I can work. Like I can help build the shelter. I can build the fire. I can stay up. Cousin Brice can cook the rice. I'll get you your water. I'll stay. Like I tried so hard to show something different because I was so scared to be my authentic self. But little did I know I could just lay in the shelter with Morgan and shout I would have made the murder.
I know. This is why I think second time players do so well. Because I agree. Like even myself, I clammed up a lot and I thought it would be easier to be authentically yourself, but there's just all these thoughts running through your head and all these concerns. So it's hard. So I admire them for being able to just lay it all out there and be very uniquely them.
Random question, Alexis. Have you ever gotten a call back?
Yeah. So I was almost on season 34 and I actually was told no 2 weeks before I would have had to leave.
And was that Cambodia or was that Second Chances?
Second Chances.
Oh.
Wait, was it Game Changers or Second Chances?
Say that again?
Because 34 was Game Changers. Did you get called for
Game Changers? That's what it was. Yeah. So I think they changed the theme of it before, and like a good chunk of the cast that was cast didn't fit the new theme. Probably Jeff's fault. So thanks, Jeffrey. But it was good because it forced me to like get a new job because my existing job wasn't going to allow me to leave. So I'm like, I actually I hate this job. So it got me where I work now. So I'm like, that's a good thing that came out of it. It was a career change for me. But yeah, it would have been nice to go again. I still don't know how good I would have done.
I think you would have done great, or I think you would have. There
More
was
life
right
experience.
more experience. I think the experience helps a lot. If they were to call you now, would you leave Miller and Evan and go?
It's hard. I think about that a lot as well. I think if Miller was a little bit older, then yes. But like the older he gets, the more like fragile I'm becoming. I'm like an old lady now. So I don't know how physically adept I would be at handling it. But I feel like I would try and make it work.
I
Okay,
think
so
you're great. Yeah.
that's a yes. Okay.
How about you, Brice?
Honestly, honestly, I don't know. I think the younger me was all about it, but the older, more mature myself, I think that I think at times I think that like I've closed that chapter in my life and I'm just again happy to be a part of this community adjacent.
Yeah, I would say too, the social media landscape is a lot scarier now as well. People are like vultures. And when we were on, it was like Instagram was just becoming a thing. So I feel like we missed the boat in that sense. But at the same time, we were it's kind of nice because we didn't get like ridiculed or attacked online and our safety and security was not like a concern. So it's a little scarier now.
They were still going at us on Twitter though.
That's
But yeah.
But at the same time, Brice, I do think that more older, more mature you would be the you that could really thrive on a returning season. So
I
my
mean,
fingers crossed for you. But
I mean the answer is yes, but
Where's my little bell?
what about you, Jack? Would you do a return? No, go ahead.
wow, I don't know. Yeah, I actually did return on the thing called the floor is lava.
That is true. That is
I
true.
saw you on there.
But it's basically like Survivor.
Wait,
But
Alexis, can I tell Jack the thing that y'all almost have in common?
What about the circle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack, was it his season or was it
It was the second season. Was that
Yeah,
the season?
Yeah, so Jack, Alexis was slated to be on the Circle season 2.
Well, I wasn't slated.
Well, I mean, girl, it sounds more salacious that way.
But they nixed me because I was on Survivor. And now it's like anybody can go. Like Big Brother people are on there. I'm like, come on. So I missed the boat again.
I do think I remember hearing, maybe when you were in LA, we might have talked about that a little bit.
Maybe.
Told me, but yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a shame. That would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like that could have been like a better vibe for me, even more than Survivor. But who knows?
Do you think you would have recognized that Emily was a catfish?
Yes. I mean, did you see his makeup? That was so brutal. They screwed you out of that, Jack.
But anyway, back to the Survivor.
Sorry.
So the next day we see that they get tree mail. They've been showing a few tree mails this season, which is rare, but I guess they're sort of giving the cast a chance to sort of sit with the twist and digest it before the challenge. Tree mail tells them they're going to have the opportunity to sit out for rice, which we don't see a lot of reactions, but we do see Danny urging everyone to play. And in a confessional, he says he'd be embarrassed if people sat out because he wants to compete. But I guess before we dive into the challenge and the negotiation, where do you guys stand on this? This has been like a recent thing of the opportunity to sit out for rice. Like, as a viewer, as a player, like, what are your thoughts and what would your strategy be? Because obviously you're hungry out there. So
yeah, for me, it would be a matter of who I'm competing against and what the challenge is. Like if I'm looking at it and I know I'm not going to win this, then I'll sit out, no problem. So it's like knowing how well you can perform. But the challenge that they had this time was a little more ambiguous. Like it wasn't set up for a certain type of body to succeed. Like anyone really had a shot. So I probably would not have sat out like at all. It would have been really hard to sit out. But they didn't even negotiate in this one. It was kind of weird. They just like accepted his first offer.
And I watched it this week with Carla and James from season 43, and they were very big on like, of course, James, the whole time, James is like, the number is 5, Jack. Not Jack, but Jeff. Like, they were very pressed at, they felt like, I guess for their season, Jack set the precedent of being like, I won't even consider anything if it's not less than 5 or more than 5. And
Well,
so,
in 41, they got to 4, I'm pretty sure.
well, James and Carla were pretty set on that it needed to be 5 or more. Again, during this time, I felt like Heidi was an assassin. When Jamie kind of sort of was teetering, I just loved how out of nowhere Heidi was like, so what you gonna do, Jamie? Like, it just kind of sort of put her on the spot, but like, talk about passive aggressive, but like in a something that will work for Heidi in Heidi's way. I just felt like, wow, look at that. Like, again, I just felt like these little snippets that we're seeing of Heidi are amazing. Also, to my short king, Danny, I'm like, why are you being so boisterous of like,
Yeah, why does he care if other people want to sit out? It makes it easier for you to win the challenge and you get rice. Like,
Yeah, I didn't get that at all. I feel like he just wants to like a label for his season or I don't know, some kind of vibe as a cast, but it only benefits him if other people sat out.
Right. That's why I was like, oh my God, like I would think that you would somewhat support it.
Yeah.
But also I feel like could it have been reverse psychology where he was trying to like
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think he's thinking about it that deep.
Okay. But I was just like, but wait, Brandon, the less people that play, you're more likely to win.
Yeah.
100%.
And
you get the rice regardless. Like,
right. But see, that's the petty me that comes out because I feel like if I sat out so that we can have rice, you can best believe that us 5 that sat out, our portions are not going to look the same as the 3.
100%. And first of all, they should watch you eat before they start to eat.
Right.
Totally.
But another thing that I respected so much, and again, the love that I have for my Jam is that like there was not enough. Jam was like, listen, I've been on the block every day of the week. I'm not taking no chances. And I love the fact that like Jam was like, I'm competing. Like y'all, the girls keep coming for me, so I have to stay ready. I just, again, a lot of respect for my Jam.
Yeah. I like what you said about like the Heidi Jamie thing, because it was weird when Jamie like spoke up, but then she like spoke up to be like, you know what? Like I can't actually sit out. It's like, okay, well then just don't raise your hand, you know? But then Heidi swooped in and was like, you know what? I'll do it.
Yeah, like, don't waste my time. We'll just get this done.
I also want to say it was funny. We talked about Danny, but then when they're at the challenge, he's like, I won't vote for anyone who sits out. Scout's honor. Like, so he wanted people to sit out. And it was funny later on at Tribal, he said that he's not a scout. So like, like I was bullshitting. But we end up having, so Lauren and Carson are like the first ones to speak up. Because at first it is like very quiet. But obviously like Lauren, and I respect, because you can tell Carson's super hungry and not in the best shape to win this challenge because he's been sick. But he didn't want to speak up and be the one to speak up. But Lauren speaks up. And then Carson's immediately like, yeah, I'm down to sit. And then Kane says that, you know, if there was a 4th person that would be down, then he would be game as well, which I think Kane honestly had a fair attitude about it, where he was like, you know, I'm not going to win this challenge. Like, it's not built for me. So why not get some rice? And then we see the whole conversation with Jamie, Danny, Heidi. Heidi eventually sets forward. So they do get those 4 to sit out. And then we get into the challenge. Any last thoughts on that before we get into the challenge?
I mean, maybe from my vain self, it's like the only reason why I would not want to sit out on a challenge, and tell me if y'all think this is crazy, but it's just like I'm like, I want more like snaps of me potentially having profile photos. Like I want to compete for, you know, like the actual like, but anyway.
Yeah. I get it. You could get carried away in the Survivor like staples. You just want to partake in all of it 100%.
Right. The big thing is like, oh, change your profile each week when you're on the show. Like, to have a profile like.
I do think the Survivor meta game is always an interesting thing where it's like you're out there, some of your decisions might be influenced by like, oh, this might give me more screen time, or this might give me like a cool photo.
Right.
Which seems like a little, I guess, vain, but at the same time, it's like if you're making crazy decisions that get you more screen time, that could get you back on another season, which could give you another opportunity.
Oh, totally.
Right.
I feel like Tony on our season kept pulling the cameras. Like we never did that. Like we just let the cameras find the stories, and he was making stories, which I think production loves. Like obviously the editors love. So it's easy to ask somebody like that back for sure.
Yeah. But so this challenge, it's sort of one of those classic Survivor endurance challenge. They got to balance on a beam with just one foot, although they could put their other foot like on top, but they can't touch the beam. And then they got to hold I guess it's like a ball almost, like with a pole over their head. Brice, why are you looking like that?
I'm just saying, I don't know if I ever been in this position with a ball over my head.
A pole and a ball.
Sign me up. I'm not sitting out for no rice, okay?
The rice can wait.
No rice can wait.
Oh my God.
So we see so competing, we have Carolyn, Jamie, Jam Jam, Franny, and Danny. And pretty quickly, Carolyn, Jamie, and Jam Jam drop out, which leaves us in a intense showdown between Franny and Danny. Once again, second week in a row that Danny is in a showdown with one of the other women in the tribe. And ultimately, Danny ends up slipping up, which lets Franny win immunity and take home the victory. So props to Franny. I think this is her second win of the season.
Yep.
Danny, when he lost, he was walking off. I think he shouted some expletives. So he was definitely upset to lose, and I'm sure even more upset to lose 2 weeks in a row. But what do you guys think about Franny's performance and just the challenge in general?
I think it was just interesting that the first people voted off of this season were women. And now here is the merge, and the first 3 people to win immunity are women. Y'all better hear them roar, okay?
Since the
Say that again, 2G.
No women voted out since the merge as well. It's
right. The whole jury is dudes right now.
It's a sausage party.
Which I'm loving that the challenges are like evenly equal. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely some that are lean more towards strength, some that are more towards like stamina. And then there's, the ones in between. So I'm loving that like these are anybody's game, which is obviously showing that there's some strong women contenders that are crushing it right now.
Yes. And we love to see it. Now, my question to you two is there any thought in Franny's mind to throw this? Because to have 2 immunity runs back to back, what does that say to an already shrinking tribe? Or do you say, no, I got to go for it regardless?
I feel like if she didn't throw the last one, she's not going to throw any of them because I feel like she should have thrown the last one to protect her boy. And she was already, she already had the necklace. So I feel like she is the one that is like a true competitor to her core and is just going to like keep striving for number 1. And just candidly, like, I don't think I would ever throw a challenge because you just want that safety. Like there's nothing better than your own personal safety, especially she was a target last episode, right? So I don't think she ever even considered that.
Yeah, I would say, well, so she didn't win the last one. I think she won 2 episodes ago.
Yeah,
which is a small difference because obviously when you go back to back, it's a little bit more like, oh shoot,
right?
But I will say in this instance, especially once you're in a showdown with Danny, then it's like if you let Danny win immunity and Soka ends up being the target, then she's kind of the obvious target. So I think this is an instance where it's worth securing. But I do agree with you, Brice, where now it's harder in practice than it is in theory. But I do think that, like, at least for me, if I was out there, I wouldn't want to win a bunch of challenges like early in the merge, because I think it naturally puts a target on your head, especially if you're in a position just in the game where you don't really need it. But I do think for Franny in this spot, like I said, I think it's worth competing and winning, especially when the alternative is Danny. Because even though she's working with Danny, sometimes the worst person that can win is your ally, because if her group is the target, they're now safe, which leaves you on the chopping block. Yeah, but so Franny takes home the win. And I will say quickly, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. I do like that the types of challenges Survivor is doing is more, I guess, fair across the group to some extent. But I am getting a little bit bored of the like constant sort of endurance challenges. Oh, is my Wi-Fi real
Hey,
slow?
this is you the whole time, Jack.
Ugh,
But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Your voice sounds great.
No, your voice sounds great.
Okay. I am getting a little annoyed by. I feel like there's so many just like endurance challenges now,
Yes.
and I wish we could get some like old school challenges back where, maybe they're running through a maze and they got to do like a slide puzzle, or maybe
Put something in my throat. let's get back to the eating challenges.
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you not remember when they used to have to eat like
The
caterpillars or scorpions?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I love those. I 100% agree. I need way more variety than we're seeing right now. I'm super fatigued by these. They're not as exciting to watch, and like they're just getting a little old. So I totally agree.
Right. Like, they don't call me a throat goat for nothing. Like, I want to put some I want to put some brains in my mouth.
Just for that reason.
Yeah.
But like it seems like they just have completely abandoned the food aspect. They've completely abandoned
The physical ones, I feel like.
they abandoned one of the reasons outside of Sari why I wanted to play Survivor. Do you remember the Ring of Water? And like you would have to get your opponent out of the water.
Yeah, like the super physical ones.
Like, even like Cagayan jumps to mind with the ones like, I mean, A, you had the auction, B, that challenge pre-merge where there was those big poles and you had to like pull the people off and drag them back.
I literally got my face dragged through the sand by LJ. Like that shit. Sorry, are we allowed to swear?
You can.
That shit was bullshit.
I don't remember that challenge,
but also the challenge, I think it was a post-merge reward challenge where they just had to cover themselves in mud and like scrape all the mud off into the buckets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Like, those kind of challenges are so weird but so fun.
Yeah, I love those.
It's so much more exciting than just watching people stand. Like
exactly. Like that's what we're doing every episode, is just watching people outstand each other, and I'm like super over it.
Yeah, it's just kind of boring by nature. Like every now and again, like a true test of endurance can be fun, especially if like, people like really face off. But it's like if it's every challenge, it's like this is like you said, they're just standing in different ways. Like it's not.
You know, the endurance challenge I loved last season, was it the grates in the water where they have breath? I was screaming. Like I could not believe that those people were like basically killing themselves under the water for that. I was like, you're drowning. You're literally drowning. I was so impressed.
Yeah. But even challenge, it's like they messed up and let two people win. Like mess that up. Just put the grate a little bit like farther out. And
they probably didn't expect people to like, go through that.
And low-key, I'm hoping to see that challenge this season, just because like following Danny on social media with his like cold shower baths or breathe with Danny. I'm so curious to see how he would do in a circumstance like that, because it is all about breathing.
Yeah,
I think he probably but, yeah. Anyways, now we're back at camp pre tribal council. From what it looks like, Tika is back in the middle. Although I quickly want to shout out to what Alexis said, where Franny does bring up that idea of like, at what point do we take away the power from Tika? Because obviously there's this kind of a rivalry between Soko and Ratu, but it's like if we just let Tika run the middle, we're all going down. And honestly, Danny shut the idea down, which like I hate the way that I don't like the way that he shut it down because I think Franny was on the nose. But I also do think for Franny, it's like, they've already been strategizing the whole afternoon of like getting Ratu out, Ratu getting Soka out. It's like this might not be the time to like go to Ratu and be like, hey, never mind, like let's get Tika. Because then Ratu could easily go to Tika and be like, hey, they just said they want to turn on you. So that's why I think Tika's been able to work the middle so well. And I do think Franny's right that like maybe next episode or maybe next tribal, they need to like figure that out. And this tribal is really going to make Tika show their cards, but it might not be the time. But I also think Danny being like, that's a terrible idea is much worse than him being like, okay, it's not the time. Like,
But I also think that there is one. I agree with Franny, but I think it's Tyson Apostle that comes to my mind, where he said sometimes it's not the best plans, it's the last plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that bringing that up in the final hour could have, for me, what that does, it shows me that, respectfully to everyone else that's out there, Franny's knowledge of the game is,
Yeah, she's checked in.
she's up there.
Mhm.
And she got to be careful. And I feel like, I don't know, it just puts an even bigger target on her back. But again, it's just like, I feel like Franny and Carson are up there as strategic, but Carson has been able to lay low. I really think one of Franny's biggest downfalls was aligning with Matt, because it just is like, why else is she such a big target? Like, because I feel like Franny and Heidi, in my opinion, are similar in the sense of like,
Mhm.
they're pretty low key. They're not like loud, but like they are clearly very strong players. But Franny has this target that Heidi doesn't seem to have. Now, I ain't mad if I'm Franny, I go out there and I meet a boy and, I meet the love of my life because they still dating, then it is fine. But I just feel like she has this huge target, and I want to root for Sophie Jr. Like, I love Franny, and the fact that she is a beast, the fact that she's humble, the fact that she's like awkward and quirky, the fact that like she knows what the heck is going on. It's like, put Franny in power and it's over.
I think that's sort of why she is a little bit bigger of a target. Is like her challenge performance has been really strong. Not that Heidi has been a slouch in the challenges. Like I remember she did quite well in the tribe challenges, but Franny's obviously won 2 now. And I mean, I think people tend to underrate sort of the older women in the game. So that's probably why Heidi's catching a little less heat. Whereas I think, but I definitely think they're both playing really solid games. But I do still think like I do think Franny's a really good strategist and she is on it, but I don't think this is specifically the time to target Tika. But now she does have immunity, so it is a little bit easier when you have immunity to throw out these ideas because it's like, what could really go wrong? Like it's not gonna turn back onto you.
Yeah. But on your note too about how Danny approached it, because Franny's so checked in and like in tune with what's happening, I wouldn't be surprised if Danny's approach starts to push her away and out of that alliance because she clearly wants to play her own game and he's just shutting her down with zero finesse in that case. Like you said, Jack, like he kind of needs to like do the whole manager bit. Like, I hear you, but and he didn't yes and that at all. He just like straight up shut it down. So I wouldn't be surprised if that pushes her like into the arms of another alliance.
Yeah. And I honestly think like it's weird to say, but the way the season is working out is like the 3 pre-merge tribes are sort of naturally picking themselves off in like almost an even manner.
Yeah.
And so it sounds counterintuitive, but it could almost be like a great move to sort of cannibalize your own tribe. because that leaves you as like a free agent, right? Like,
Yeah, they're
if
due for it for sure.
yeah, if Franny gets on board with taking out Danny, now she's a free asset to both Ratu and Tika, and that could put her in a great spot.
Puts
But
her now in the swing vote position.
Yeah,
exactly, and it's obviously so hard when you're out there. It's like these are the people that's your alliance for a reason. That's who you've been with the whole time. So just to jump ship from that entirely is very and it's kind of an ambiguous move. Like it could work great, but you could also just be completely blowing up your decent spot in the game. But with all that being said, Tika is working the middle pretty effectively. But like we said, hopefully this tribal might be the one where
change position, new position, new position. Stroke it for me, stroke it for me. I want you to rock the boat, rock the boat, rock the boat, work the middle, the middle. Change, but new position. New position, new position. Stroke it for me, stroke it for me. Jack, name the song and artist.
come on.
I don't know. I said Mario, but
It's 2G, got him again.
The 2G.
Oh, jeez.
Well, when you were saying change position, I thought you were just referencing my screen like freezing up and everything.
No, I mean actually that actually works.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Aaliyah rocked the boat, but okay.
Got you. I'll note that down. But Tika is still in the middle. This seems like the time where their cards are actually going to be revealed. So I'm excited for like after this tribal to see the fallout. But Soka wants to target Kane while trying to flush Jamie's idol, which isn't actually real, but they all think it's real. Ratu wants to target Danny because he's a big threat. And Tika's actually kind of split. Jam is of the mindset that if you write my name down, you have to go home. So he wants Kane to go home because he's the only person left who's written his name down. But Carson and Carolyn think that it could be a good time to target Danny, who might be the biggest visible target left in the game. And Carolyn also reminds us that she's been thinking that ever since his bro down at the summit with Brandon. So they are a little bit split internally in this decision. And before we get to tribal, I mean, say we're the Tika three, us three. What way do you guys think that we should go?
You vote my name down, you got to go.
See, I think that's a big problem because I feel like anytime somebody gets too attached to that path, it's like their demise. So I kind of more aligned with Carolyn in this sense where I didn't see Kane as a big threat, but also on the emotional side, I probably also would not have recovered from that bro down. Like that would be hard for me to recover from. So for me, that would probably be a sticking point that would affect my perception of the game as well.
But also I look at it like because Kane was on Ratu, right?
Yep.
So and again, like if we're talking about the cannibalism, if I'm Lauren though, I'm like, get rid of him. But no, what I find so interesting is the Jamie idol, right? It don't matter if it's real or not. It is the perceived knowledge of the idol. I mean, I know that wasn't your question, but that was just the takeaway for me is that like I almost, if I had the idol, I almost would plant the fake idol, find it myself because it's just the perceived knowledge. Although like Jamie's been very like low key with it, but people know. But it's just the fact that does it even matter that it's not real?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's that threat of the idol that is definitely a big factor. And we've seen it in past seasons, like especially the past few. Someone just having one that's public knowledge, like, can really deflect votes off you for a long time.
And here is another issue. Sorry, with which I love, but I don't love. And again, like I said, I was watching the episode with James Jones last week. How the hell did knowledge's power make its way into this episode? Like, here also is the issue of being too astute of a student of the game of Survivor, because now you're hypothesizing ish. That's not like, but again, you have to, but also it could be at your own detriment.
Yeah, like I thought about that too. If you're a first time viewer of the season, that's just kind of like an annoying, messy piece. Like you need a backstory on what they're actually talking about. So I don't love that all of these like wacky, wild advantages are like just permeating through the narrative of this season as well. Because it's changing gameplay in weird ways that are not necessarily strategic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But also really good though, because you think like, if you ever are out there, Alexis got knowledge just pop. Like, you know, I mean,
you gotta be mindful of it.
There is just, it's another tool in your tool. It can be used as another tool in your toolbox.
Yeah, totally.
I do think it was weird. I'm glad you guys brought it up. Like, I think it's smart that they accounted for it, even though there's like, it's obviously not in the game. But I did think it was weird that Lauren was like, hey, Jamie, you need to hold on my extra vote in case there's a knowledge is power. But it's like, Jamie's the one with the idol. So if they now ask her if she has an idol or an advantage, she's going to have your extra vote. Like, that
yeah, but they have to say if it is an idol or an advantage.
Right.
They have to be specific about it.
Do you? I thought you could
say, no, you have to. Nope.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. Get it together, Jack.
Come on. But here's, fast forward a little bit. Did Lauren give Jamie permission to use the extra vote?
I had to rewatch. She did. She said, you'll use this for Heidi. Because when I saw her use the extra vote, I'm like, wait a second, is she just using it? She did. She said, use that.
Yeah. Which I thought was kind of unnecessary also, because it's like, if Tika's with you, you don't need it. And if they're not with you, you're wasting it. But, well, the one thing I did think about during the episode was obviously Tika has this plan to play the middle, and this is sort of a defining vote for them where they might have to show their cards, especially given the fact that they're a little bit split. I was thinking this could be a great opportunity for them to almost make them like make it look as though they're not together, and maybe like vote different ways, or maybe one of them votes for like one of themselves to create this like false narrative that they're starting to fracture. Like say Jam Jam really just did vote with Ratu, or no, I'm sorry, Jam Jam votes with Soka against Kane, and Carson and Carolyn vote for Danny, and then now I think they would still be able to maintain their position in the middle, but also look like, I guess they're still kind of putting themselves at risk, like the ones that would vote for Danny, like, but I thought it could be interesting to make it look like essentially they're really not as close as they actually are.
Yeah, but then there is kind of like a sacrificial lamb with that, because whoever does be the one that votes opposite the majority then are then basically inevitably on the low end of that totem pole, which I would not volunteer myself for that personally.
Yeah, maybe you have, I don't know if this is the episode, but, and I don't really know if it like makes sense technically, but maybe you almost have like someone in your Tika group vote for someone else in the Tika group, just like
create false fractures. Yeah.
But when does that ever go over for the person that they say they're going to vote for?
Sorry, what do you mean?
When does it ever go over with the person that, Jack, I'm going to just put a vote on you? Like, like if I'm saying I'm going to just vote for you just to show the fracture, inevitably, Jack, you're going to be like, why me?
No,
like,
I think that would be more of a situation where, like, now, again, I don't know if this is the spot for it, because there's been no really talk of targeting Tika, so it would be like, why did Jam Jam put a vote on Carson, right? That would be so random.
It'd be like a weird throwaway.
I think it would be more of a spot to be like, I come to you, Brice, and say, like, Brice, in order for us to hide our alliance, just put
Alexis.
a vote.
Yes.
Yeah, but it would not work, because you then don't want their, like, literally you don't know who you can trust out there. Even these Tika members will still have like a flicker of doubt in their head. So if you're hearing that, my first thought would be like, no, that's actually probably what's going on. You guys aren't fake putting a vote on me. I think you're probably conspiring against me. So it's hard.
That's what I'm saying. When do
I I wouldn't do it like that. I think it would be more. I mean, it would take a bit of trust and a bit of elite, but I would be more like put one vote on me. Like because because you're right. As soon as you're like, let's just put a couple votes on Alexis.
Yeah.
Hold on. That will actually fracture our group. It would be.
Yeah, you really have to trust the people because, like, even if it was your idea, you might spark an idea in their head.
Right.
You might run with it.
And then even if you say put a vote on yourself, then people be like, he's lying. Like it's the paranoia.
Yeah, true. I do think. I guess the best way to make that happen, the best players could make that happen, is by like bringing the idea up, getting people on board, and then maybe someone else in your group is like, you know what, like put a vote on me. I like the idea, or something like that, and then you get everyone to buy in. But we get to tribal council, and for the first time this season, we have sort of a live tribal, which was sort of a welcome change, but also reminds me of those, I guess, sort of the time like Winners at War stood out, where there was a ton of live tribals, and a lot of times it's hard to catch what people are saying. So it's sort of like, I like that things are getting scrambled up, but I don't really know what's happening anymore.
I love the subtitles when Jamie's right there. They're like, it's Jamie, and she's just sitting right there.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the live tribal?
There was that one season where it was like every tribal that was happening. So I'm still kind of scarred from that because I was super over it by that point. And this episode particularly, I don't know if it was like editing or what. I didn't really know what question marks there were for them at that point. Like I as a viewer, I'm like, what are they trying to discuss? So I don't know. It didn't do much for me as a viewer. It just felt like making it more exciting than I felt it was.
Agree.
I felt like what stood out for me the most was that Danny didn't move.
He didn't, of course.
No. Danny didn't kind of like go back and forth, and I was like, that's a boss move, or
you're such a Danny stan.
I mean, I love everybody, but I mean, I got to think for my short kings. But that's just something that I noticed. But again, it was just like the kind of sort of back and forth. But from what I watched, it seemed like people were more reassuring than changing.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting too that Franny said they're going to put votes on Jamie, because I feel like I didn't hear that part of the narrative. And then she was the only person that voted for Jamie. So I was confused about that. I thought maybe is she trying to flush an idol, or did I miss something?
I think that they wanted to initially probably split the vote, which might not work very well. I think my guess is they wanted to split the vote, but they were also concerned about the extra vote that Ratu did have.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm guessing the conclusion, because the vote ended up being 5-3 to 1-1. My guess is they were like, we can't really split the vote because of the extra vote, but let's put like one vote on Jamie just in case, because say
one vote.
say Jamie plays an idol for like Kane, and then maybe someone on Soka counteracts with an idol themselves, then it's smart to have that one spare vote just on someone on Ratu, is what I'm guessing happened. And that honestly might have happened because it was 5-3 to 1-1. Danny and who else on Soka had a vote against them?
Heidi? Was it Heidi?
I think Heidi might have had one vote. Yeah.
Heidi.
So I think maybe Ratu was thinking the same thing. Where like, if we think Tika's with us, let's put an extra vote on. Or I guess maybe they thought it was a full split. So maybe some of the Tika people were supposed to vote for Heidi. But like, I was confused too about that. Like, why vote 5-1 essentially? But maybe they were like, okay, we know 5 is the majority. We might as well put 1 just for safety.
Yeah, maybe.
Was there any part of you two that I didn't want to see my girl Jamie go out like this? I didn't want her to play that fake idol because I didn't want that secondhand embarrassment. But there was a little part of me that was like, can you just pull it out? Like I wanted to see Jeff say like, this is not an idol.
Yeah, like if they're going to throw all these 100 million fake idols and real idols into the mix, I want the satisfaction of seeing that like cringy moment at least.
It will be interesting now though, because I didn't think about this. Kane went home with Jamie's fake idol, right?
Yeah.
So go back to camp and be like, no, I lost my idol, even though it wasn't a real idol.
Yeah, like I want the reveal. I want her to like see her find
Right.
out it was a fake idol. Like,
That-
didn't Josh go home with a fake idol? We never got to see, or there was somebody that went home with a fake idol. I wanted them to tell that person like in that final confessional.
Sarah went home with a fake idol.
Okay, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Do you what are your thoughts on, does a fake idol come back into play?
I still fake idols in play, right? So I don't.
No, I'm just saying
The
Jamie's
one that we
idol
just
just
saw.
went home.
I
Oh,
hope not. I think there's more than enough. They've got plenty. But they might search, you know what I
But
mean?
right, so could the allure of the like, just saying, but Jamie doesn't know that it's fake. But
Right. So they might be searching for what they think is a real one coming back into play. I probably would, knowing the the pattern.
I'm sure they will, and maybe that it will say it was real. It might actually be advantageous for Lauren and Jamie because now, like, they would be the only ones who know that they gave it to Kane to bring home. But it is interesting where I feel like usually people figure out their idol's fake like once they're voted out or once the jury talks to them. But because Matthew was the one who created the fake, and I don't think he told anyone about it, we might go the whole rest of the game with everyone thinking that Jamie's idol was real, and
Right.
only like they get back to America that Matthew's like, oh, that.
Matthew lives on. Like, it's crazy. Like, like he was out of the game, but yet his lasting effect on the game still kind of sort of lingers around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The baby boy Kane gets voted out. He say F y'all and y'all rice.
That part was so funny to me.
That was what your thoughts? Do we think the move should have been Kane? Do we feel like it was a missed opportunity? Do we feel like Kane is somebody that we love, the baby boy Kane, but like, was Kane a threat to threat? Like, or do you feel like it really was a missed opportunity to get someone else out? Because if I'm out there, I'm feeling like I would want to sit next to Kane.
I actually think it was a really solid move from the perspective of Tika. And I guess Kane was like a solid player on Raw too. So if you're Soka, but the reason I think it was a good move for Tika is like, Ratu does, as far as people know, have more like advantages. There's an idol, there's an extra vote. So obviously by targeting them right now, you take more of a chance to flush those things out. Additionally, like we said, with the sort of the how each tribe is sort of picking each other off in an even way, my guess is now like Soka as a collective, I think is much stronger than like the Ratu collective. So now I think it's a lot easier for Tika to go to Lauren and Jamie and be like, hey, Kane was a threat, but now like we all know that we got to get like Danny and Franny out of this game. Let's make an alliance of 5 and take them out. And I think that is something that could work very easily because it's like it doesn't really make sense for like Lauren and Jamie to side with like Danny and Franny now. So I feel like they're naturally going to want to work with Tika. Whereas if Danny went home, Franny, like we saw, is of the mindset that like, oh, Tika's in the middle. Maybe Franny goes to like Kane and Jamie and Heidi, and Heidi and Lauren, and says, Tika's running this. Let's actually take them. I think that's a much more likely. So I think for Tika, who are effectively the decision makers in this tribal, it was actually a really good move.
Okay. Final thoughts. Where do we see the next couple of episodes going, Alexis?
Yeah, I think that the Tika power is going to be recognized now. So I think there might be people on the low end of the totem pole trying to shift the game up, maybe with Franny leading the charge on that. So I definitely see that happening. I think Danny will still be targeted to some degree. But also I wish that they would like recognize that they're chipping off the boys one by one and just move into like an all girls thing because they're growing the numbers just sneakily there. But I don't think that that'll happen because their bonds are too strong.
Yeah.
If you're sorry, go ahead, Jack.
No, I was just gonna say, like, to that point, I think Danny likely goes next episode, and then I think Franny, because then it would be 2 Soka, 2 Ratu, 3 Tika. That's the point where I think Franny would be like, go to Ratu and say, hey, Tika's been running the middle the whole time. there's 3 of them and only 4 of us non-Tika. Now we got to take out like a jam. And I think that's sort of how the next 2 will go.
But do you think that will be too late though? And if we are the Tika 3, right? Is there a point where we'll need to come together to say that we need to cannibalize against ourselves?
I mean, as long as their strategy in the middle is working like it is, I don't think so. But I do think they're gonna have to They're gonna have to like switch things up at some point, or else everyone else is gonna wisen up and target them.
I also think the difference could be someone in Tika winning immunity.
Yeah.
I think that would then highlight them in a different way.
I also feel like we're getting a little foreshadowing of Carolyn being not so happy with not being a decision maker within Tika, because like Jam wanted Kane, she wanted Danny, and she didn't get her say. And I think this is like the 2nd or 3rd time that's happened. So I could see true fractures potentially happening there where she starts to branch out and make her own game because she doesn't feel like she has any decision making authority.
Yeah,
right.
It could be smart, like to that point, if they start to cannibalize themselves now, like sooner rather than later. Like maybe Carolyn and Carson go to Jamie and Lauren, and that's the new alliance, and they take out like a Danny, take out a Jam. But yeah, that's kind of what I think will happen the next couple episodes, and then that would leave us with 2, 2, and 2 at the final 6, and then it could kind of be anybody's game. So I don't know. I hope things get mixed up because
me too.
Gotten picked up a little bit, but I still think like the whole idea that the tribes are sort of staying even makes things very predictable.
Yeah, they need to mix it up now. Like I don't think that it's common for it to be this deep into the merge with your original tribe still staying so strong. So yeah, I'm waiting for that mix up.
Well, you know, the new season brings new surprises, new twists that we just can't believe. But what I can say is that it might not be the Tika 3, but this Survivor News 3 is giving me life. And Alexis, thank you so much for being my good friend, coming on here, spilling some good Survivor tea. Please tell Miller and Evan I said hi, Jack. It is always a pleasure to have you here on the podcast. And listen, if you are in the New England area, let's figure this out together. We'll be in Boston so we can watch and we can talk about it right after the episode. And then Philly, you already know what's up. And then Brooklyn, if you are in the tri-state area, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, shoot, Maine, come on in for Brooklyn. Brice and Wen present. We are holding you down for the rest of the season. It's truly been a pleasure to have the woman that put my name down here.
Thank you for having me
on my podcast. Okay, the Tika 3 is back together again. But no, thank you guys so much, Alexis, truly, baby boy Jack.
Love you.
I was trying to think of a Now, do you know this song, Alexis? I get so weak in my knees, I can hardly, I lose all control. Something comes over me, on my mind, and I hide.
I feel like I know the song, but I feel like you're not doing it right.
Girl, you know what? They always say. They say I add a jazz spin to the song.
Yeah, or we can just do a little scat here and there.
Okay, Jack. Well, before we go, Jack, give us some. Well, maybe the 2G isn't the time for you. No, but we hear you well. Give us some lyrics.
I'll do that next. I'll come prepared next episode with some good choices.
Okay.
All right, he's leaving us hanging.
He's leaving us hanging.
I also want to subject Alexis to that when DZ are the real criminals in this offense.
Well, get ready for some Jack Harlow song next week.
You already know that's what's coming. Listen, this has been your Survivor News.
Survivor News. Survivor News.